Began at the edge of a small clearing, where the last light of day had thinned into a soft, even gray. Pines stood in an easy line beyond the meadow, dark and patient. The air carried the cool shape of evening. It moved slowly without hurry, as if the whole world had decided to breathe at a steady rate. A narrow track led between roots and low moss. Each step was steady and simple. The ground felt familiar and solid. Small stones lay like quiet punctuation. The leaves of low shrubs made gentle sounds when brushed. There was no rush to reach anything. The path kept its own quiet pace, and the pace was enough. Beyond the pines, a lake opened out like a wide, calm thought. Water lay flat and even. The surface took the color of the falling light and held it with patient care. A faint mist rested over the water in places, thin as a memory. The distant shore was a soft line of trees and shadows. No sound came from beyond the trees, only the steady hush that night brings. A small cabin stood near the water, low and wooden, with a narrow porch. Smoke rose from a short chimney in a pale, steady ribbon and disappeared into the evening. The cabin seemed to belong to the place, as if it had grown there slowly, like a stone that had lain too long in one spot. Close to the cabin, a boat leaned against a post, its paint worn in friendly, rubbed places. A lantern hung from a hook on the porch. It glowed with a slow, warm light. The steps up to the porch were soft with age. Each board remembered many quiet feet. There was a handrail smoothed by use. A small mat lay by the door, simple and plain. Inside, the cabin smelled of dry wood and a faint trace of citrus from a bar of soap. A small table held a single chair. A shelf carried a few books. A blanket was folded on a peg. Everything was placed with gentle care. Space allowed the light to move slowly across the floor. A fire burned low in the stove, making a soft, even warmth. The glow touched the wooden walls and filled the room with a piano-soft color. The flame was quiet. It breathed in and out with a steady rhythm. That rhythm became part of the room. When the stove was closed, the warmth stayed like a memory, gentle and constant. Outside, the lake held the moon. The moon hung low and calm, a simple disk resting against the dark. Its light slid across the water in a thin silver road. Occasionally, a small ripple crossed that road and broke the reflection for a moment. Then the lake smoothed itself back into evenness. Night insects wove small, unprompted music. Their sounds were tiny and repeated, simple as a thread. On the porch, a cup sat on the rail, still warm. Steam rose in a quiet, slow column and disappeared into the night. The cup was plain, with a small chip on the rim that gave it character. To drink from it was to slow down. The hands that held it felt the cup's warmth, and the breath that followed matched the steady rhythm of the little stove inside. When the lantern light extended onto the water, the boat looked like a small, dark vessel asleep against the shore. Its oars rested inside, parallel and patient. The idea of moving across the water was simple and gentle, as if the lake itself would carry the boat with faint, loving force. The oars' wooden faces were smooth, known to the touch. A slow row across the lake felt like a small kind of attention. The oars parted the water and then yielded it again. Each stroke was soft, measured, and without effort. The boat moved with the evenness of a thought drifting toward sleep. The small sound of the oars came and went, regular and plain. The water smelled faintly of minerals and pine, a clean and honest scent. Halfway across, a small island lay like a knuckle of earth, ringed with reeds. A single birch stood slender and white. Its leaves made tiny silver sounds in the night. The island kept its own hush. A single rock sat on its side, softened by lichen and time. Once a heron had rested there, now only a still memory. The island made no demands. It allowed the boat to rest at its gentle edge. A dock reached into the dark water. It was low and close to the lake's skin. Its planks had the silvery softness that comes from nights and dew. The dock knew how to be strong without announcing it. Sitting on the edge, feet near the water, felt like a small good thing. The wood was cool and dry. The dark water below held the moon's light, and that light trembled there as if holding its breath. This place was quiet in a careful way. The trees moved with patient deliberation. Their branches made slow, soft sweeps through the air. The sounds of night, crickets, a distant small call, were like background pages of a long, restful book. They did not insist on being heard. They simply were. The rhythm of the place matched the rhythm inside. Slow breathing, steady calm. A small lantern hung from the birch. It gave off a gentle circle of light that did not reach far. Fireflies traced soft patterns near the reeds now and then, like brief silver thoughts. The air lay still enough to let these little lights feel hung in space. They moved in small arcs and pauses, patient and careful. When the sky turned fully dark, the stars came out like small, patient pinpricks. They were exact and simple. The Milky Way brushed the heavens in a pale, thin band. The sky felt large but friendly. The stars did not press down. They were distant companions with steady places. Looking up at them was like looking at a well-ordered pattern. The mind could rest on it and find plainness. The night held small sounds, water whispering at the dock posts, a fish making a soft circle below, the low flutter of wings far off. Nothing moved suddenly. Even the wind, when it came, offered a low and even touch. It ran its fingers through the grass and left the blades lying in quiet rows. A soft scent of damp earth rose now and again, clean and unhurried. A small moth came to the lantern and hovered, then drifted away. Its wings made a tiny, regular beat. A frog called softly from the reeds. Its voice was round and calm, repeating a slow phrase that rolled into the silence. The sounds joined and separated again, making a gentle tapestry that slowly unpicked itself as the night deepened. On the island, a blanket was folded near the birch. It had a familiar weight and gave a mild comfort. The blanket's fibers smelled faintly of lavender and wood. Lying back on the blanket let the neck relax. The shoulders loosened. There was nothing to do but notice the slow things, the steady breath, the faint shift of the cloth, the light of the stars. Time measured itself in small changes. A cloud moved across the moon, softening its silver for a while. The moon continued, patient behind the cloud. A line of geese passed far away, their calls soft and rhythmic, a low punctuation between trees. The lake took these noises and held them. It smoothed them into its own evenness. The heart kept its even work. The chest rose and fell in a slow, natural rhythm. Each breath was an unremarkable, trusted companion. The body found the ease of being still on the blanket. Muscles softened. The mind, given gentle things to rest on, eased its grasp. Thoughts slid past like slim leaves on the water, small and gentle and moving on. The cabin's lantern, seen from across the water, glowed like a small, patient star. Its light was steady and plain. The boat rested as the oars lay inside it. The night continued its soft observance. There was no need to name the hour. Time had become a smooth, uninterrupted fabric of small events. Later, a slight rain began, not more than a whisper. The drops were fine and steady. They made a soft net of tiny sounds on leaves and on the lake. The surface accepted each drop with quiet indifference, folding the small circles into itself. The rain did not rush. It fell evenly and without drama. It left a scent like clean stone and floating green. Under the birch, the blanket drank a little of the night's cool and kept a pleasant dampness that made the air feel fresher. The rain's sound made a gentle counterpoint to the stove's memory of warmth inside the cabin. The two sounds together were like 2 pages of a very slow book being turned. As the rain softened, the air smelled of clean earth and faint resin from nearby pines. This scent settled and became one of the steady things to notice. It did not command attention. It simply was, like the moon and the boat and the low lamplight. The stars returned in drifts. They gathered, patient and even, as if nothing had happened at all. Their light threaded through the thinning clouds. The lake sent back little lines of light. Everything resumed its calm manner. The island, the boat, and the cabin kept to their places, uncomplicated and exact. Sleep arrived slowly. It moved like the tide, a gentle, inevitable return. Eyelids grew heavier with honest slowness. Thoughts lost their sharp edges and became soft, rounded things. Memory for a while let go of its details. The night offered simple impressions: the feel of wood beneath, the tinny pulse of the lantern's glow, the mild echo of water against the dock. Each impression dimmed into another and made a single comfortable sameness. The breath continued, deepen even. It matched the small, even sounds outside. The limbs relaxed completely. The field of view narrowed in the most pleasant way. The mind's focus settled to a soft point, then a thinner thread, then to a quiet humming line that required no effort. The last things that held attention were the pattern of stars, the thin road of the moon over the water, and the boat sleeping at the shore. Thoughts grew slower, less insistently formed. Words became redundant. The world outside maintained its patient watch. The trees settled their branches. The lake smoothed its surface once more, obedient and calm. And so the night kept moving with steady hands. There was no need to keep watch. Everything remained as it had been, gentle, even, and exact. The lantern's glow thinned into a soft memory. The breath and the water and the light blended into one even and pleasant silence that rolled on, carrying the small island and the cabin and the slow, soft stars with it. All became more quiet. Shapes blurred in a comfortable way. The last sentence of thought drifted away, unfinished and unneeded. The night continued. The stars kept their patient places. The water kept its gentle, slow skin. The air lay careful and still. Sleep deepened. The world reclined into the night. The boat rested. The cabin's stove kept a dim warmth. The birch kept a leaf shaking very softly. The soft sounds dissolved, folded into the dark. The night went on, slow and even. Wood, water, light, breath, stars, night, quiet, rest.